Of course, yeah. So, for example, if we are going with cancer, just adding more antioxidants to the diet. Adding things like blueberries, adding even like basic all vegetables. Basically going more. So for cancer, I believe in going more plant-based. So.
Welcome to the Private Chef podcast, serving the 1%. I'm your host, Hannes Henche, and on our show we speak to the best chefs, how they honed in on their skills to excel in the industry, and what it takes to work as a private chef for some of the most exclusive clients in the world. Welcome back to the Private Chef podcast. Today we have Charvi Altamirano. I hope I said the last name right. It's Spanish origin, but Charvi is originally from India, in Mumbai, which is also close to my heart, where I spent a lot of time in the last 2 years. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Hans. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's dive right in. Where did the love for cooking come from in your life?
Okay, so my love for cooking started when I was when I was about a teenager, and when I started. So I went through a weight loss journey when I was about 18 years old, and that's what kickstarted my journey of health and wellness. I visited a nutritionist when I was a teenager, and she basically got me on a diet where I lost a lot of weight and I gained a lot of confidence in myself. And that's when I started cooking. I developed a love for cooking then because I started cooking healthy for myself and realized that it is possible to, cook healthy and cook healthy, tasty food and also lose the weight. So that's when I got very interested in cooking and healthy cooking. I moved to London a few years later for my master's in international marketing. And I was pretty set on the fact that I want to pursue marketing as a career. When I moved to London, I realized that I really enjoyed the program. I finished my master's. I tried to take up a job over there in the marketing industry and realized that was not for me. I remember I used to sit in my dorm and I used to cook a lot. And I realized that, maybe cooking and health, my career is in cooking and health. But I had absolutely no experience, no knowledge on, how to go forward with it. So that's when I decided. I remember I called my parents. I said, I want to move back to India. I want to, see what I can do over there. I moved back and started India's first paleo bakery with no knowledge at all on cooking or health or nutrition, nothing. It was just my own research. So that's where it started.
Did you actually rent a store, or did you start that from home?
I actually started that from home. So I was lucky enough that my uncle had an extra home, which nobody was using. So which had a really nice kitchen. So I called him up and I was like, can I just move into that house and you make that my studio for a few months?
Hey, uncle, I need your kitchen.
Exactly. Pretty much. And he was very kind enough to say yes. So I used that as my base, my home base, and my professional kitchen. I was working a lot. I was, as a chef, and especially when you own your own business, there's no hours. As soon as you get orders, you make them and get them out. So I was working a lot, and I have to say that was the best time of my life. I absolutely loved it. The bakery was called Cheat Clean. So the whole meaning behind it was that you can eat the foods if you were cheating, but in a clean way.
Yep. So how did you go about it? I mean, you obviously had a semi-professional or already at that point, a marketing background from London. So you got the word out, but who were your clients at that point? How did they find you, and was there a real demand for it, or was that something that came out of your passion?
There was quite a big demand for it. I think it was a little bit of both. It's just how passionate I was about it, and of course, my master's in marketing really helped me market myself. My main strategy of marketing was social media. So I went big on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and and word of mouth. As you know, in India, it's a very big, everyone knows everyone. So just telling a few people and sending samples to people. And I took part in a lot of farmers markets. So I used to make fresh food and sell it over there. It blew up really big. I got very popular with a lot of people very fast. And I had to hire someone. I had an intern as well. And I had someone who was, two people who were pretty much helping me all the time. And yeah, it was basically from home. And yeah, it was great.
What did you why did you say it was like the best time of your life? Was it the building something and really seeing how people, love it? And, there's always that part of me that appreciates that creation phase where you bring something together. And then when there's a sense of acknowledgement or people appreciate it,
that's
that really
exactly
fuels
it. You said it, I've always been an artist. So even in school, I took up fine art as a major in high school. And I knew I did not want to be an artist, but I love being an artist. So cooking was a way to express that. And just, it gets addicting when someone comes and tries your food and they love it. Just seeing that smile and happiness on their face is everything. So I think that's what fueled me to keep going.
Yeah. So then how long did you do that? How long did you stay in India to pursue this?
About a year and a half, a year to year and a half. And then I decided that I need to go to culinary school. So I was very good at the baking aspect of it. And I used to love cooking meals as well, but I realized that I need a little more training in that, and I just need to streamline everything. So since my passion was also in health along with cooking, not just cooking, I decided to look up what healthy culinary schools there are out there. And there were only 2 in the world. I don't know if there are more now, but at that time there was the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York. And there was Bowman College in Berkeley in California. And obviously liking the heat more. And my brother was living in California at that time. So I decided to move to California and go to Bowman College.
You're like, screw the weather in the East Coast. I don't want any of those winter storms.
Yeah, pretty much. Coming from Mumbai and growing up in the heat, that was not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. So I really liked it. It was honestly a little bit stressful because being an international student and Bowman College being such a small school, I did not get an international visa to just attend the culinary school itself. So since I was so hell-bent and so passionate about going to that culinary school, I had to enroll at a program at a post-baccalaureate program at UC Berkeley to go to culinary school, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing a post-baccalaureate in counseling psychology because psychology is always a good degree to have, along with culinary school. So it was good, but I was in school from 9 a.m. till about 9 p.m. every day.
So you really wanted it. I mean, there's a lot of determination and grit in this.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I really wanted it. Culinary school more than anything.
Yeah. And the thing about, I think, psychology is a big part of our job, whether we realize it at first or not. But I think it definitely plays out over time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And food and psychology are so connected. I'll talk about it, through this conversation, but I'm also a health coach, and I also have a master's in health education. So the psychology degree was a very good precursor to those, because food and psychology are really connected. It's pretty much interchangeable.
Yeah, if you want, you can dive right in. If you want to touch up on it.
Yes, yeah, of course. So I can just continue with a little bit of my story. So I got done with my master's. I got done with culinary school and my master's and my postbac in counseling psychology. And then I decided to work at restaurants in the Bay Area. It was a little bit of a challenge because, again, I was on a student visa and I couldn't legally work for a very long time. So I had to, kind of wait until I could do that. Yeah. So I had to wait a little bit. And, there was times where I could not work, but I was volunteering a little bit at kitchens. And I decided to work when I could legally work, I decided to, on my OPT, I decided to work at restaurants in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it was good, but I didn't really, it was too fast paced for me. As you can tell, I'm not a very strong built person. So in a lot of the kitchens I worked at, I was called a diva because there were things that I could not lift and I could not do. So, so that was a little bit of a challenge for me. And due to that, there was a lot of things that I couldn't do in the kitchen. So there were things that I was great at, like cutting and chopping and, interacting with customers. So I used to do a little bit of that also in the kitchen. And, there were things that I knew I was really good at. And I decided that I don't need to, even though I worked at multiple kitchens in restaurants around the Bay Area, I decided that's something that I should not be doing anymore. And I was suggested by somebody that I should get into private chefing because there's more money there, and it's definitely more, you work at your own time and pace, and there's definitely more flexibility there. Another thing that was very, very important for me was the creativity aspect, which I did not find in the kitchens. I was making the same thing over and over again. I was chopping the same 50 onions a day, which got a little bit redundant for me. And I like to, obviously I started off as a line cook. So I was and a prep chef. So a prep cook. So I was only cutting, say, for example, 50 onions a day, or I was peeling a vegetable, for about 2 hours. So that got very boring for me. I wanted to, since I was used to baking at my own bakery and, starting the product from start to finish, I was used to that. And that's what gave me satisfaction. Which is why I got into private chefing. So I got into that and I absolutely loved it. And
so what was your segue in? How did that play out for you to actually, I mean, there's some of us who have a certain angle, maybe they know somebody in the industry, and that opens the door, but what was kind of your gateway into the private industry?
It was a little bit, great questions. It was a little bit challenging to get into the private industry initially. I contacted this agency. It's called Town and Country Resources. And they were able to, there was a lot that happened in between. I got married, I got a green card, and that's when I could officially start working and, I could pursue a career in this. So I contacted this agency called Town and Country Resources, and they gave me my first client, which was a great fit for me. And I cook for 2 clients now, both twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week each, depending on their need. And that was basically my in the industry.
Yeah. So what was your interaction like working with an agency at first? Was it something that came natural to you? Did you feel supported by them? Because I think many of us at the early stage, we're really trying to figure that part out. How does it work? And what was that process like for you?
I'm actually very happy I went through an agency because it was they were more like recruiters who interviewed me initially. You know, they could vet for me, and then they sometimes when you meet a client on your own, you don't know whether they're a good fit or not. So the agency knew that they
Yeah.
were a good that I was a good fit for them because my current clients are very into health and healthy eating and very conscious of the ingredients they use, and I'm the same. So it was a really good fit. And it was actually pretty interesting that they were looking for a chef who went to Bauman College. That was one of the requirements on the job.
Particularly to that college.
Particularly to that college. And I think I was the only candidate that went to that college.
How many graduates are there in a year at that college?
About 20 to 25, that's it.
So that must be a very, very, very small pool that would be available to that family. So that's like immediately put you on the pedestal. It's like, it's Charvi.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to obviously do a trial like every private chef does. And then when I think they were choosing amongst three chefs, and I was pretty confident I would get it because I went to Bauman College and because I felt like our food values were very similar. So yeah, I was very excited about that because that was pretty much my dream, to cook for someone who has such a similar mindset and value system related to food.
So maybe you can share a little bit with us. What's the biggest distinction about going to this particular college compared maybe to any other culinary institute in the country?
That's a great question. So I have friends who've gone to the French Culinary Institute and different culinary schools, and it's very different from our discussions. So this culinary school it was a safe haven. You know, there was people from all sorts of. A lot of the students who were with us, they were suffering from health conditions, and they wanted to, attend this culinary school because they wanted to heal their own health condition, or they were very interested in health and nutrition. And so it was along with studying about cooking and along with just learning about cooking techniques and, just the cooking aspect of things that you learn in a culinary school. There was a lot of content and a lot of studying about nutrition, which was, I think, the number one standout for me, because I loved the whole theory aspect of nutrition, and I wanted to dive deeper into that. So it was really cool how we were cooking, and also half the day was reserved for studying about what we're cooking and what condition it's good for, or what symptom it heals of a certain condition.
Coming from India, when you first said those are the one in New York and the one in California, the two only maybe health-focused colleges around culinary. But in India, you also have like different lineages like Ayurveda. Did you consider those when you first wanted to dive into this?
That's a great question as well. So I did consider that. I grew up eating in a very healthy manner at home. Although I was pretty well versed with Ayurveda, although I wanted to dive deeper into Ayurveda as well. According to me and according to Ayurveda as well, Ayurveda is the science of life, right? So the science of life is basically, according to me, it comes from cooking. So yes, I did use a lot of the Ayurveda techniques. And in Ayurveda, there's 3 doshas. They're called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So I'm pretty interested in it basically, Vata means air, Pitta means fire, and Kapha means earth. So there are these 3 signs, and everyone's a mixture of each sign, basically. And when anyone has a certain symptom, for example, they feel angry, they have a fire imbalance, which is a Pitta imbalance. So it's very interesting to see what foods can help with that imbalance. So that's something that I do incorporate in my cooking and my studying as well.
Did you consider going to maybe one of those schools in India instead of maybe going to a college that is? I mean, it probably would have been a lot easier for you to go to an Ayurvedic school in India than pursue a different degree overseas that then allows you to go to that particular culinary school. Or why were you so hell set to go to California to that particular school?
So I visited 2 years before I made the decision. My brother was studying in San Diego at that point, and I went to visit him in San Diego and pretty much fell in love with California. So I decided that, okay, this is a place I want to come to further pursue, what I want to pursue.
Yeah.
And luckily I found a culinary school in Berkeley. Even though Southern California is very different from Berkeley, it was still, when I came there, I pretty much fell in love with California in general. And it's interesting because I was about to move back to India to continue. When I was done with culinary school and I was done with my postbac in psychology, and I finished my 1 year of work experience, I was almost ready to move back to India to pursue Cheat Clean again and to become a nutritionist and consult and start my own healthy bakery again. Basically take off where I left off, But it was interesting enough that I met at the restaurant I was working at the time, I met my current husband there. And it was interesting because I actually moved back and then moved back for him a few months later. So I guess destiny brought me back here.
Nice. So, given that you're so health focused and all of your clients are health focused, I think that's generally something that we're seeing in, I would say, the private market right now. People becoming a lot more health conscious, and you know what I love about it? It's been your personal journey, which also in a way that's been the same for me. Out of my personal journey and curiosity, I started becoming a lot more conscious about what I'm eating, and and that really helped me incorporate that into my cooking. Maybe you tell us a little bit more about the ins and outs of what you learned there.
At Bowman College?
Yeah. Or also in your personal journey, or in working with particular clients, I find it also very interesting that some of the clients that I worked with, they put me together with their nutritionists or their doctors, and it was like a little health conscious team around them, and there is always some really inspiring methods or recipes or lines of thoughts in there. So, yeah, whatever you're happy to share.
Yes, of course. So, so let me start off with this. So once I, when I moved back to America, I pursued my master's in health education, in holistic health education. So that was a big part of my journey and who I am today as well. I went to the John F. Kennedy University in Pleasant Hill in California, and I basically majored in holistic nutrition there and health coaching. So I got my master's. It took about 2 years. I got my master's, and I decided that along with cooking, cooking it's a great field to go into, but I definitely want to have, as we've discussed as well before, cooking, it's you can't do it after a certain age, right? Like you need to have a career that's also that's backed up with cooking, and nothing is better than the nutrition industry along with that. Getting into the nutrition industry and the nutrition field. So I got my master's in public health, and then and I'm currently doing I'm getting board certified as an integrative nutrition health coach. So it's very cool because who I am today is also a health coach and a private chef. So even with my clients, it's awesome to be able to coach them through their health. As you said, also connect with their team of health specialists, like their registered dietitian and their doctors, and basically heal them holistically through food. So, for example, if a client is suffering from a certain condition, a doctor can only do so much. A registered dietitian can give them a diet, but who's actually cooking the food for them, and who's actually coaching them through what they should and should not be eating, and what's good for them and what's not good for them when it comes to health. It's the job of a health coach and a private chef. So
yeah.
That's my whole journey that shaped me to becoming who I am today.
And I mean, that's probably a very rewarding role too, because you're kind of wearing two essential hats, and you can bring it down to one person who's you, and really serve people on a different level there. And I think especially in our segment of the market, where we work with individuals or families, you can really hone in and make a difference in their life.
Exactly. And I would say that is the single most best part about this job. Just to see that happening in front of your eyes.
Yeah. So what are some of the maybe the conditions that some of the clients you work with tend to want to change, or what are the things that primarily are focused on when somebody's working with you?
There's a lot of things. So apart from being a private chef, I'm also a health coach, right? So I also coach clients without being their private chef. It's great that I have this private chef thing under my belt, because I can give them recipes. I can give them, I can teach them. I teach cooking classes to a few people virtually. So it's great, because that's all a part of health coaching. I would say that some of the conditions I work with that are very popular are, diabetes, just blood sugar balance, when it comes to diabetes. Then I used to cook for someone who was in remission for breast cancer. So, something as major as that. Then I would say arthritis. That's a personal story of my own, because I was diagnosed with arthritis as well about a year and a half ago. Just cooking an anti-inflammatory diet for someone who has arthritis or any autoimmune condition for that matter. And people with irritable bowel syndrome, that's a big one, because, irritable bowel syndrome is to do with gut issues. And it seems like about 90% of the people have gut issues nowadays. So that's a big one. And
well, I guess it says something about the general diet.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people who have been used to the standard American diet, also, I call it the sad diet, pun intended. So for them, it's life-changing to just switch around a few things in their diet. Just add more vegetables in, just switch the quality of meat. For example, someone who's used to eating, just a regular corn-fed steak, just switching to a good quality grass-fed steak, that makes all the difference.
Yeah. So maybe you pick one of the conditions, and if you wanted to, for example, it could be the breast cancer, and help us understand what kind of changes compared to American standard diet you would make with somebody.
Of course, yeah. So, for example, if we are going with cancer, just adding more antioxidants to the diet, adding things like blueberries, adding even like all vegetables, basically going more. So for cancer, I believe in going more plant-based. So basically getting all your antioxidants in and taking your supplements along with that. This is obviously someone who's remission, not who's like delve deep into cancer, This is someone who's more in remission for cancer. Yeah. So taking, just using, basically I would say the number one thing is adding more antioxidants to the diet. So eating organic, fresh fruits and vegetables, switching from non-organic vegetables, especially in, I don't know if you've heard about the dirty dozen and the clean 15.
Yeah, the dirty dozen.
Yeah. So just making sure you're not getting any sort of chemicals or pesticides or fertilizers in your diet, So switching to organic produce, washing your fruits and vegetables extremely well, eating fiber, eating whole grains, going more on a macrobiotic diet is, for example, someone who's in remission for cancer, they could really benefit from something like that.
Are you familiar with the study from Dr. William Lee? And he wrote a book, Eat to Beat Disease.
Yes, I read that book. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I just took kind of a deep dive down that alley a couple months ago for personal reasons. But it's so I went also very deep on his studies, and so that's a very interesting field to me, and kind of trying to understand how these things play out on health. And it also sounds how maybe counterintuitive our actual diet is. And, and the sad thing is, I think the American diet is being adopted globally. Like, our first McDonald's in Germany opened 1972 for the Munich Olympics. And since then, I don't know how many hundreds of fast food chains or franchises opened up. And I mean, the same adoption is going on in India. And the interesting thing is, if you take, for example, the gut microbiome I think is an interesting health marker that is being more researched lately. If you take somebody out of their healthy environment, let's say it's somebody ethnic, even from South America, for example, and you bring them to the United States, within 3 months, the entire gut microbiome will go down or degrade to the degree of somebody who's lived in the US, for decades already. And it's just, it has all to do with the input of the stuff that's going in. And I guess, we are literally what we eat.
I completely agree with you. And that's a great point that you mentioned about how if someone's taken out from their home environment and they're moved to America and, their gut microbiome really degrades, it's very true. And I'm glad that you brought that up because, I myself have seen so many of my friends come to the US and then they go back to India and, they drink like a sip of water there and they fall sick, and sometimes it's not about, sometimes you don't have, you come here and you're living, there's this book called Eat Dirt. It's called Eat Dirt. And it just talks about how you should not be living such a clean life, and over here, it's all about your environment being clean. But your food, have you seen what most of the people are eating here? It's crap. So it's more about your environment. It's okay if your environment is a little you should be going around and, getting messy in life. I think life is all about that, but the food aspect should be, clean. So they just talk about how you should be eating, Eat Dirt is basically, it means that you should be eating, clean raw foods. You should not be eating ultra processed foods that you think are not dirty, for example, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think the food we consume, it should be clean but not sterile. Like, it shouldn't be completely dead. How it's like sprayed down, and whether it's pesticides or then in the cleaning process, chemicals that are being applied. That was never the original intent. And for example, simple things like if you actually have organic soil in your garden and you know what's going on in the soil and you have a slight residue of soil on something, that means no harm unless the soil itself is of poor quality.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Or if the soil has been sprayed with, things that are considered clean for average society that make the produce clean. But yeah, I completely agree. It's all about, eating. So for me, Eat Dirt is more about eating raw, whole foods, that our Mother Earth produces, rather than eating, ultra processed clean food.
Yeah. I'll plug something in. I probably said that on the last 5 recordings, but I put my dad on a whole food plant-based diet 3 months ago, because he was diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sorry to hear that.
very much guided by Dr. William Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And within 6 weeks, the doctor took him off the blood pressure medication that he was having for multiple years.
Wow.
Within now 3 months, he's also doing celery juice every day. So he's having over a pint of celery juice a day.
That's
His
amazing.
skin looks, I don't know how many years younger than it did a year ago. So obviously I cannot speak to the basic condition of the cancer cells, but on every other health marker, we are dramatically improving, and we're doing nothing but shifting his diet. Like, he's fully dialed in on the diet. He's not eating sugar, no alcohol, none of that stuff. He's just whole food, plant-based, eating real food. And I think the interesting thing is my mom, just by being around him, also lost some weight because, they don't want to cook two different things. So it clearly works, to dial in on those things. And I was speaking also with one of the coaches, one of the clients I worked there, top athletes in the world. And he also emphasized, he's like, Hannes, and it's probably not completely true, but he's like 80% is diet.
Totally.
And, there's so much what can be done in food and how energetic we feel. And I think most people are not yet aware of it. And I always find it interesting to take them on the journey of discovering that for themselves and how food impacts their body.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that makes me so happy to hear that your dad is doing so much better, and how, when he was recovering from his cancer, how a plant-based diet helped him, right? So it's because a plant-based diet helped him because of the antioxidants that are basically got about when you eat plant foods and when you eat plant whole foods. So that's awesome. That's great to hear that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we really
that.
got him dialed in on eating local real food, and there's also originally, I didn't understand why, for example, maybe organic would be of a benefit to him, but there is, Dr. William Lee touches up on that a lot, that there is, I'm not sure if I'm saying the English word right, but it's the polyphenol. Basically, it gets produced more. The secondary plant components, they're getting produced more in quantity if it's organic. If you don't take away the bugs, and if you don't take away the natural threat to the plant, the plant itself needs to defeat itself or defend itself, and then produces certain components that are actually beneficial for us as humans, which is one of the reasons why organic makes sense, especially for people that have certain conditions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how you mentioned polyphenol. So polyphenol is a antioxidant, right? So like polyphenol, there's a million other antioxidants that are preserved when the food is organic, and which is taken away when, there's pesticides or anything else sprayed on the produce. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's all about the diet. It's all about the diet. I'm so, the more I've studied and the more I dive deeper into my research, it's literally all about the diet.
So what are kind of your personal plans? Where do you want to take this, given that you also gathered such a body of knowledge? How do you plan on sharing that with your clients or future clients?
So my next steps are that I'm on the path to getting board certified as a health and wellness coach. So my hope and dream is to continue doing what I'm doing, because I really like working with private clients. So, just given my condition, I was diagnosed with arthritis. So given that, I don't think I can do private chefing, 5 to 6 days a week and 8 hours a day, because it's just, my body just does not allow me to do that. So I am in the process of building my health coaching website. So to just continue doing what I'm doing, private chef part-time, and then build my health coaching website. And basically for the rest of, I've finished my board certification, finished my studying, which is going to take another year, and then just go rampant with my health coaching. I just want to be able to reach as many people as I can, and help them heal themselves through food. Not only through food, which is what health coaching is. So health coaching is more about the circle of life, and connecting the dots between what you're eating. Maybe you're not healing from a certain condition, or improving in your health because maybe you have a bad relationship in your life, or maybe you're not getting much physical activity, or maybe you're not too happy with your career. So health coaching is basically like connecting the dots between all aspects of our health. So that's what I'm getting further training in. So connecting food with all these other aspects of life as well. I just want to excel in all those aspects, and then, just go rampant with my coaching and continue doing what I'm doing. I want to build a global platform. Yeah, I just want to build a global platform where I could, coach people from every avenue of life, and, just help them get better and basically thrive in life.
Yeah. I think you're already in one of the best markets in the world to start with. I think, the Bay Area is fertile ground for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice. It's also a little bit, I would say it's great for that, but it's also a little bit saturated. So, which is why I'm going more for a worldview, because everyone is very aware of that in the Bay Area. Everyone is very aware of health and wellness here. And I feel like there's a lot of work to be done. There are people who need to be aware here as well, but I want to build a global platform because there's a lot of work to be done to, basically make people more educated around the world about this. There's a lot of, small cities and small towns where people don't know about this. They're just eating their, diet that they've grown up eating, which is not very good. And, they're just not educated. So the goal is to educate, as many people as we can about this.
The interesting about those areas, I think if we would have left them alone all along, they would have been off better. Like, I think especially India, for example, has a rich tradition of where this was actually good eating and good habits were kind of woven into the fabric of society. Then it got dismantled maybe somewhere between the British and then the Westernization. And, now you kind of have to go back and be like, no, all of the grains and legumes and the veggies that you were originally eating and the way you were eating it, and all of the turmeric that you have in the food, that's all really good. Go back to that,
I completely
in
agree.
Germany,
I
think go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. Please go ahead. I'll speak after you. You were talking about Germany.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying that in Germany also the original ethnic diet, that we have a saying, it's called like the Sonntagsbraten, which means there used to be a piece of meat in the week on one day. Mm-hmm. Sundays, special treat.
Wow.
So the original diet also didn't produce so many health conditions. I mean, originally I was a bit shocked. I went to the US, I'm like, oh my God, this is a sick country. Then I look back at the statistics to where I came from, like, oh wow, we're second in line. We're right there with them. And then I realized that, where we were pushing the boundaries of diet, we went from eating one piece a week on a special occasion from an animal that literally grew up down the street, probably our own barn, grass-fed. And now we have this mass-produced meats, that are being pushed in the market, and people eat like three times a day.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just how you mentioned in Germany, how it's just mass-produced. That's what's happening. It's sad because there's so many people, and, everyone's trying to cater to everyone. They're trying to cater to the masses, and that whole, that localization and that individual, there's no joy left in actually picking your own food anymore because it's just so convenient to go and get it from somewhere, that from a place where there's like plenty of it. Like, why would you not do that, right? Because it's so convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that because the West.
Yeah, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yeah. So just the whole westernization, even in India, how, earlier we grew up eating such clean, healthy food. Our grandparents' generation, my grandmother is 92, she's living so long because she's eaten so well while growing up. But just the whole westernization, when I go back home now, nobody wants to eat lentils anymore. Nobody wants to eat, whole grains anymore. Everyone's all about eating out and, eating at restaurants that are using inflammatory seed oils. And there's no concern for that, health anymore. It's all about what tastes good. But people don't understand that you can eat something that's good for your health and it can taste good,
But I think there's a bit of a transition. Like if you have somebody who's very used to the unhealthy diet and doesn't see the reason to shift his diet, he won't buy into the clean flavor profiles at first. Mm-hmm. And see, now I'm personally at a point where I appreciate the cleanliness of vegetables and lettuces and stuff. And I don't need any of the heavy sauces and things as such. And I appreciate the flavor profile of fruits. And but I think that takes, and luckily taste is plastic. People might not believe it always, but you can, especially if you're fasting a lot, you can really get yourself to a point where you enjoy different or new flavors that you didn't a while back. And I think that's a point, but people need a reason. And for most of them, it's usually a health condition, or there needs to be some serious red flag in their life that they get the message. They won't just do it unless there's like a real reason.
I completely agree. And that's what health coaching is all about. It's finding that why. For me, whenever I speak to someone or coach someone, it's, I dig deep to find the why, the big why of why they want to make the change and why it's so important for them to make the change. So that's great you mentioned that, because it's all about that motivation and then asking them the right kind of questions to get them to that answer of why they want to make the change. And, I'm hoping that in the future, it's going to shift from, because right now we live in a society that is more about cure. It's only curing something that has already happened. But, just me being a big advocate of, prevention. So I feel like if we start taking care of ourselves and we look at it as preventing a disease rather than curing a disease, I feel like our world can be, such a better place to live in.
Yeah, but that's a long-term approach. I think most people are looking for immediate pleasures, and I think food is one of those. Food is that like instant gratification. You can have that amazing meal now, and it's right then and there where you get your joy.
Absolutely. And that's important too. Like once in a while, that's very important as well, to eat something that gives you joy, even though it might not be the healthiest thing in the world. So yeah, that's important too once in a while.
So what's your cheat meal?
My cheat meal, I would say, is I love In-N-Out. In-N-Out burger, it's only on the West Coast.
Sorry, what did you say?
In-N-Out burger.
Oh, In-N-Out. Oh, In-N-Out.
Yeah. I love fries. Okay, so I would say if there was one thing I could eat unhealthy for the rest of my life, it's just fries from either McDonald's or In-N-Out. I can't believe I'm saying this.
That's too funny. That's too funny. We're out looking for fries all the time. Literally today for lunch too.
Oh, nice. Where are you getting it from finally?
It depends. I mean, in the area where I'm at right now, it's you actually have to go somewhere to get them. There's not a. I'm in a small village outside of Frankfurt right now.
Okay.
You can find it, but it's not like right down the street like in Bombay or New York, or in San Francisco, where it's literally everywhere.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a good thing. You have to work for it.
Yeah. You have to. You have to walk the extra mile to get there. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, what kind of, when you say global platform, what kind of platform do you envision for yourself? How do you want to share this knowledge with more people beyond your immediate clients that you're catering to right now?
Great question. So I want to, when I say global platform, I mean a website. So my first step, I'm working on planning on creating my website right now. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I haven't gotten it out there, although I should, because it's not about perfection. So
Are you familiar with Thad Godin?
Pardon?
He's like a marketing specialist, Seth Godin. And basically he said you have to ship the work. Don't be a perfectionist. Obviously try to do your best, but you have to ship your work on a consistent basis. Otherwise it will not improve. The market will make the decision. And then you keep working on it.
Yeah, I know. And that's where I think I need to improve. So I need to just get it out there, as you said. So I'm just working on creating my website right now. I think I need to go a little more rampant on it. And yeah, I just want to be able to reach the world, and I want to be able to, offer individual coaching sessions on my website, group coaching sessions, also educational seminars and programs on my website. So that's what I'm working towards right now.
I think you could actually do it, like thinking about what you're doing. You could very much use a similar format like Dr. William Lee. He has those live coaching sessions, and I think he starts them every 8 weeks or so, where he has a live cohort, and he goes on Zoom calls and takes them through the different modules that he worked on in live sessions. And I think it's very interesting the way he put it. That might be an interesting one to look at for you. I mean, obviously he has the book, which is kind of the ultimate lead funnel for him, and then that brings people to the website. And then he's been on a lot of different podcasts, which also drives people back to the website. And then on the website, he basically he shares a couple of his recipes, he shares a bunch of his studies, but he always encourages you to opt into the live cohort where he speaks about the latest research. And I think, especially given that you're also so research driven and doing your own studies, that's always a good one to be like, hey, here is the latest research, so follow my latest live or go into my latest live, because everybody always wants the latest research on something.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. I've definitely thought about that, and I do want to follow a similar pattern as him. And it's interesting you said that, because in nutrition, it's all about the latest research. There's something new about, there's some new study every day disproving something that was said yesterday, So it's definitely all about that, and just updating that research again and again is, depending on a new research study that's out. It's very important to kind of make the world aware of what's going on and what's the latest research about a certain thing, especially in health and nutrition.
So what do you think is one of the most interesting fields that science is looking at in nutrition right now?
I would say one big thing for me that I grew up thinking, and that's changed over the years, is fat. Just research about fat, and how fat-free was such a big trend back in the day, and how we all used to go looking out for items that are fat-free, but we didn't realize how there was so, we didn't care if there was,
I didn't.
Yeah, same here. I didn't care if there was 100 grams of sugar in there. I still used to get it if, it was written fat-free. And, just looking at things now and seeing how fat is our best friend now, and how, healthy forms of fat like olive oil, avocados, egg yolks. They're our best friends. It's so good for us. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things for me. And because there are still people out there who are scared of fat, who are afraid of fat because of a bad rep it's got for so many years, right? So, it's about telling people how good fats are and how it's so beneficial for each and every person and how eating fat makes us lose fat.
Yeah. Eat your avocados.
Eat your avocados. Yep. I eat one half every morning.
There's actually, I think there's some studies around this entire fat-free period. People were consistently gaining weight during that period. So that clearly didn't work. And I think one of the interesting research fields where I'm paying a lot of attention, I'm really looking forward to seeing as it evolves, is the gut microbiome and kind of the axis between that, and also, the brain-gut axis.
Absolutely, because our brain and gut are very interconnected, and it's cool that you mentioned that because I've had clients who've come in with all sorts of, I've had a client with ADHD, a client with, clients who suffer from anxiety, and it's very interesting to see that when they change their diet, when they eat to improve their gut, their mindset changes, they feel better, their mood gets uplifted. It's so interesting.
Yeah. But at the same time, also the mind can, I guess, tear down the gut health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if there's, for example, if there's, something going on, if they're, for example, having a bad relationship with someone and it's caused them anxiety, just an example, they have stomach problems, they have issues, they have constipation. So it's very interesting how the two are related. And, sometimes you have to heal that aspect of that, and fix that relationship in your life to actually heal your gut.
Yeah.
So that's a big aspect of coaching.
I think to a large degree, you touched up on it, but I always like to ask, what do you consider a life well lived?
I would say a life well lived is, one second, you have to edit this. I wrote this down. Okay. For me, a life well lived is to do what makes my soul dance. So, to basically to be in good health is number one. To eat foods that nourish you are number two. And to live in the present is a big thing for me. It's very important, to live well if you are living in the present. And spirituality is a big aspect for me in that. That's something I'm slowly getting into. So I feel like whenever I'm living in the present, I feel like I'm living a good life. And also to make sure you take, there's going to be a lot of things in life. And obviously, it's very important to care about others as well. But it's also important to care about put yourself first, because if you are not in the best and the most ultimate health, you can't take care of anybody else. So always take care of yourself first. And for me, sorry. It's very important for me.
No, for you also.
It's very important for me to make sure I have a positive impact on on people's lives and my clients' lives. I just want it to change for the better. And I feel like I've done my job and I've lived my life well if I have accomplished that.
Nice. Well, Charvi, this was really enlightening, to say the least. This was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time. Where can people connect with you? And I don't know if you already have the URL, but what's your website if you already have that? And otherwise, we'll add it to the show notes later, for sure.
Thank you. Yes, I'm still working on that right now, but I have my email address, which is Chef Charvs, so ChefCharvs at gmail.com. If they want to reach out to me and if they want to book a free health history session for health coaching, or if they want to take a cooking class, that's the best place to reach me at the moment. And then I will let you know once I get my website up and running.
Yeah, we'll make sure to add it once it's up and running.
Thank you so much. That sounds great.
Thank you for joining us at the Private Chef podcast. If you know any highly skilled chefs that want to take their life to the next level, make sure to share this podcast with them. And if you enjoyed this episode, click subscribe and check out our upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.